Aloha! I'm Don O'Brien. It's my very first time on this Instagram Live. I'm more of an Instagramma. I am older and I don't do this often. But aloha kakahiaka. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining me. Riley Ranch, Hawaii. Debbie Baker joined. Thank you. And we are so excited. Even with this modern technology and this old Tongan, we're going to get together, strike two sticks so that we can have some fire this morning. I got my Aloha Friday lay on a little bit early because I am waiting for my friend, and that I am going to try to connect with her right now. Let's see if we can get her. No. She's going to come on. And I know that it's Scarlett Lewis. I mean, if you're going to have a guest in the whole wide world, I would choose Scarlett Lewis. Well, I would choose a lot of people, but Scarlett Lewis has got to be one of the people at the top of my list. So I'm just so happy that she's going to be coming in here. Let's see. When you go live with someone, anyone can watch their live videos and will be able to watch Sue. Yes, I would like to go live, but I only can see that. Let's see. Can we get someone? We want to have Shreya help us, but let's just type in her name and magically, Scarlett, choose love. Bear with us, my sweet, lovely friends. And there's two of you from my side watching. Hello, Debbie Baker. Thank you so much for joining me. Choose love movement. And now thank you to one more person for coming in. I'm just trying to pull up my sweet, sweet friend, Shaka Fly, how's it? Sweet friend, and she's going to come in. And Scarlett Lewis is the mom of the Choose Love movement. We have so much. Thank you to Kaipo Hanakeave, all the way from the west side, watching in. Thank you so much. Okay, now I can figure out how to get you in there, my friend. Let's see. I want to go live with somebody who's on, and I believe my sweet friend Scarlett, and I said I would choose so many friends to be in lockdown quarantine with, but at the top of my list is this lovely lady right here.
Aloha.
Aloha, Scarlett Lewis. Look, I wore a lei for you. It's a long distance lei. It's a social distance lei, and you smell yummy, Scarlett.
I love that. And I had leis all over the place, and I was looking around my house because I wanted to wear one too.
Oh, please do, friend. Find one. And you guys, if you're watching from the state of Hawaii, this girl is homegrown Hawaii. She has a heart of aloha. Did you find one? And Scarlett, how often do you come every year?
I come about 4 times a year.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, there it is. And that's a kukui nutshell, which I told you in Hawaiian. And we have a Hawaiian online. Kaipo's wife, Christina Hanakeave from the Jason Momoa family. Can you believe our star? This is the Momoa family. And she's saying aloha to you. But the kukui nut means light, because they used to crack open that little nut and burn the actual nut itself to make light in the Hawaiian halis.
Wow, how beautiful.
You are stunning, and I'm so honored to get to be on your podcast today with Choose Love, which you know we love to call Choose Aloha.
Choose Aloha, absolutely. And Hawaii is one of our biggest states. Not surprising, right? With the Aloha spirit. You all have embraced the Choose Love movement. You have it in more schools than almost anyone else in the U.S. And it's really amazing, amazing schools, homes, and communities, which is just fantastic. And I'll explain really quickly what Choose Love is. It's a movement that I started following the murder of my 6-year-old son at Sandy Hook Elementary School. And after his murder, I came back to our little farmhouse. I'm actually in the little farmhouse right now, so I can actually show you this chalkboard.
The famous chalkboard.
The famous chalkboard. I'm going to walk over to it right now, where he wrote 3 words, nurturing, healing, love. It is so dark, but let me see.
No. I feel like we're in the Louvre Museum, and we're looking at, the famous paintings of like,
you can barely see it. Oh my gosh, shoot.
That's okay.
It's so dark.
Darn it. I believe you.
It's so dark in here. You know why? Oh, wait a minute. Does this help? Wait. Do I have a flashlight? I have a flashlight hanging up. Hang on. So he wrote 3 words, nurturing, healing, love. I saw that after his murder, and I thought, if the young man, the former student who perpetrated the crime, had been able to give and receive nurturing, healing, love, the tragedy would never have happened. It was so simple. And of course, simple isn't necessarily easy. So I started, I knew that it was my purpose on earth to bring Jesse's message of nurturing, healing, love everywhere. And it would be what I was doing for the rest of my life. And literally, so here I am, Dawn. It's 7 years later. We have this movement. This message is being taught in schools all over the planet, in all 50 states and over 100 countries. And here, I have a flashlight. So tell me if you can see it.
We can see it. I can see it. And it's the cover of your book. And now I'm seeing it with my own eyes. What a blessed honor. Wow. Nurturing, healing, love. And you always say he was 6 years old and he could spell that. So that's why it's spelled phonetically.
Yes, he was 6 years old. And those words aren't in the vernacular of a 6-year-old. They're not something that a 6-year-old would normally say.
Yeah.
And phonetically spelled, because of course he was in first grade and just learning how to write. But those 3 words are in the definition of compassion across all cultures.
It's universal.
It's universal. And they form this incredibly powerful and profound formula for choosing love, for being able to thoughtfully respond in any situation, circumstance, or interaction by choosing love, even, by the way, in the time of a pandemic, to be able to take your personal power back and thoughtfully respond by choosing love. And so I thought today, Dawn, we would share this formula with everyone and talk about how we can use it even in the time of the
pandemic
coronavirus
and a global meltdown. And I love that you recognize, Scarlett, I mean, the Aloha State, Hawaii, which is our nickname, right? The Aloha State. And you said so many schools here are just going kabongers. We're going kuku walutu choo with this because, and I believe, and I want to give that compliment back to you. And I called you the mama of the Choose Love movement. I kind of alluded to Jesse's part of the story, but I didn't give it away. And I said, the mama of our Choose Love movement, which in Hawaii we call Choose Aloha. Now, aloha, it was birthed out of aloha. You are such a wonderful mom that out of a point of pain, that which was evil was redeemed for the greatest good for the whole wide world. And aloha, we're celebrating May Day tomorrow. May Day is not a call for rescue in the state of Hawaii. It's such a beautiful day of flowers. It's Aloha Friday, May Day. So those are 2, Friday and May 1st. And we have like all the islands represented with beautiful lei and colors. And so aloha, it means ha is the breath of life. And aloha is unconditional love, which is the nurturing healing that you were just showing us. And could you talk more about that? Because I always thought we were going to be the first Choose Love, Choose Aloha state. And you corrected me in love. You said, I'm sorry, Dawn, but the first Choose Love state is New Hampshire. So we're going to be the first Choose Aloha state. I'm pretty sure we will be the first Choose Aloha state.
Actually, they're one of the first ever schools, even before New Hampshire, was in Hawaii.
Wow.
On Oahu. And it was started by Kelly Oshiro, who is your counterpart, our Choose Love ambassador
of Aloha.
She heard me speak. So actually, President Obama was president during the time of the Sandy Hook tragedy. And I spoke with him several times about what I felt very strongly was the solution to school violence. And that is cultivating safety from the inside out of every child by teaching them essential life skills, by teaching them how to have healthy relationships, how to manage their emotions, how to grow through difficulty that we all face, and maybe some difficulty that we don't all face, but to see it as an opportunity for growth and be strengthened by it, how to make responsible decisions. It's interesting, Dawn, because all of these things that are deemed essential life skills, we're not born with them.
Yep.
We have to learn them. And
Yes.
by the way, if we didn't learn them at home and or in school, we don't necessarily have them. And I always use myself as an example of that, because I was 44 years old when my 6-year-old son was murdered in his first grade classroom. And I, of course, was searching for a solution, because I knew in my heart of hearts that that was 100% preventable. I knew that that didn't have to happen. And then I found Jesse's message, and I said, well, this is it. If the shooter had been able to give and receive nurturing, healing love, the tragedy would never have happened. And so I was connected to a doctoral professor, Dr. Chris Cook, who is the director of the Compassion, Creativity, and Innovation Center at Western Connecticut State University. He said, oh, sure. I said, how do I get that into schools? And he said, it's called social and emotional learning. And so I started reading up on these essential skills, tools, and attitudes that are easy to teach and easy to learn. And I realized very quickly, I don't have these skills and tools. And so I learned them. And I developed a program with some incredible educators, counselors, PhD, doctoral professors, early childhood development specialists. And we developed an incredible program, and we offer it at no cost, because these are, I feel like having this information is a basic human right. Yes. We know through decades of research the impact that understanding, that learning these essential life skills has on a child's future. I mean, we utilize these skills and tools in everything that we, in our relationships, at home, at school. They help us to learn. They help with graduation rates. They reduce substance abuse and anxiety and mental illness and
increase marriage success rates.
They do know so much. So, and by the way, my son was priced out of the market in Sandy Hook of social emotional learning, because a lot of the programs are really expensive. And the program that Sandy Hook had chosen was so expensive, they couldn't afford teacher training. So it never got out of the box. And I thought, I need to develop something that doesn't require teacher training, that the teachers can learn right alongside the students. Because by the way, if you didn't learn these skills and tools, you don't necessarily have them, and you can't give what you don't have. And I always use myself as an example of that. And so we created the Choose Love movement, which is lifespan programming, because this can benefit anyone at any stage of their life. And we offer it at no cost. And I will say, I want to give Hawaii a huge shout out, because you were one of the first schools in the world, one of 4, in the very beginning, that was courageous enough. Because remember, it takes a lot of courage to do something different, to take in a new program. And the first school was Ke'ele Pulu Elementary School. And so they embraced this program, and they had a plan for 3 years, and they were going to learn it the first year. They were going to kind of incorporate it the second year, and the third year, if it worked, they were going to pay it forward. And it was so successful, so quick, and it was so easy to learn that they actually not only learned it and incorporated it, but started to spread it out to other schools in the first year.
And that's what I love. And I always say that my favorite F word is from Choose a Love. It's free. The 4-letter F word is it's free, because as you said, your son was priced out of the market. It costs money for the material, and it costs money to train the teachers. Now, for everyone who's joining us, thank you for being with us, our Aloha champions.
Thank you.
And I just want to tell you, this is not just for schools. I use it in my life. As Scarlett just said, she was 44 when she learned it. I'm 49. I just started learning it last year, and I grew up in good communities all my life. And but this is so simple that we can have, it's simple as a pimple, baby. You can just get it right there. But the 3 F's is not just free, it is fierce, and it is good for everybody. So for
Yes,
everybody, free and fierce, and it's on chooselovemovement.org. We just
it
changed.
is.
Okay,
It
good.
is. Yeah.
But I want to say, and we're going to come into a personal story, but you were talking a little bit and it sparked one of the big things that I know is working for the state of Hawaii, because we're all hit. It's a global pandemic, but the
Yes.
state of Hawaii out of the 50 states has the highest unemployment in the United States. It's 33%.
Ooh.
And I love being in little small groups and we pray, or we'll just get together and have reading, book clubs. And I'll say, if I had 10 people with, me and 9 other people to have 10, 33% means 3 of you will, if you lost your job, go ahead and take a seat. And those 3 people would sit down. Now that's real hard for the 7 still standing to look over and go, oh my gosh, they can't pay rent and so forth. But you know what? And here's where I'm going to bring it in real personal. And thank you again, everyone, for joining us. There are long lines for food in the state of Hawaii and all of the states. Long lines for unemployment checks. It's a broken system in Hawaii, but there are longer lines for love and aloha. That's what I'm really noticing. And so that's where the Aloha State and Choose Aloha is empowering people. And the thing is, it's our culture. Now, here's the personal story I heard from one of the wonderful principals who loves Choose Love and started it here, Stacy Kunihisa. She had a Choose Love conference a year ago. And one of the people who got up, she said, we were principal, I was still a teacher, and heard this story, and it happened to us. It was a personal story for her, Ann Mahi, who's now Kaz. She's complex area superintendent for Nanakuli Waianae, where I teach. I have my kids with me right here, Nanakuli Golden Hawks. Scarlett goes out there for free with me. We cruise out on the west side all the time, right, Scarlett?
Absolutely.
So, Kaz Mahi said that there was a teacher in their school out on the west side, and boy comes in late to school. He's late, and the teacher kind of, why are you late for? I don't know. And then she said, well, where's your homework? I don't know. Okay. And he went to a seat and sat down. I think he was in the 1st grade. And then she goes, you know what? You always late. You always do this. I can't take this anymore. And he got very upset. And I'm just giving you a clean part of the thing, because, in our rough schools, it gets real rough. He started saying things back to the teacher, and she said, that's it. I'm calling the principal right now. You suspended. And, he had been out of order many times. But this boy, she picks up the phone. He picked up her stapler, flew it on the wall, picked up the books, flew it, started turning over the desks. She removed the rest of the students to go away to the other side of the room because the boy was now acting out, behavioral. He's breathing hard. He's ready to fight. We talk about a lot of this in Choose Love about shutting down the lizard, leave the lizard, hug the numbat, and to hug the human in your brain. But he was short breathing, so he's stuck in the lizard fight or flight response. Right. And when he was done, the principal had run in, and the boy was breathing facing the wall. And then the principal went and he picked up that stapler, he put it back on the teacher's desk, and he started picking up books and putting them back. And then he picked up a desk and he said, son, would you care to help me? Are you okay? And the boy was breathing, and you could tell he kind of felt bad. And then he turned around and he started helping to set the class back in order. And when they finished, they were kind of by the door where the principal had run in, the main door of the classroom. And the principal said, son, could we go outside and just take a walk? Would that be okay? And he said, yeah. So they took a walk. And in that moment, out of his mouth, he heard a question he had never thought of, which was, he asked the boy, what happened? He didn't say, what's wrong with you? What the heavens were you thinking? He didn't berate or scold that child. He just said, what happened? And in that moment, that tough little boy who was standing there holding himself with everything that he's got, he broke down and he started crying. And he said, last night, my mom and my dad was fighting, and I couldn't focus and do my homework. And then he pulled out the knife, and the mom responded with a gun. And then he responded, and she shot the dad. And so that was so hard in that moment for that little boy. And then he said, right then they got arrested. My dad is dead and my mom got arrested. And all these people came, and the police came, and my grandma came to help me and she took me home. And so this morning, she never know how to come to school. And so she dropped me off wrong and I was late and I didn't do my homework because I couldn't focus while my parents was beefing and scrapping. And so in that moment, as he was crying and he was saying the why, that he had been emotional, he was saying, my gosh, help me. That principal understand the important question is, why did you do that? What's wrong with you? The important question was, we want to help you, because we cannot reach the mind until we reach the heart. We cannot teach the mind until we reach the heart. I'm going to try to get our wonderful lady, Miss Choose Love Movement, back with us right now. It's Choose Love with Scarlett Lewis, myself, Dawn O'Brien. I'm a Choose Aloha ambassador in the state of Hawaii. And here we are, you're back. I was just telling that wonderful story about that little boy.
I heard it all. I heard
it
all. And it is heartbreaking. But so, communication is so important. If we stop to listen and we actually ask, and the point about that, Dawn, is that so much of the dysfunction that we see in schools, so much of the anger comes from pain.
Yes.
And I think trauma. And one of the most important lessons that I've learned, because we learn so much through pain and difficulty in our lives, one of the most important lessons that I've ever learned is that there are only two kinds of people in this world. There are good people and good people in pain. Yes. And I think it's really important that we all remember that. Nobody is born bad. In fact, nobody's born a mass murderer. I'm thinking about my own situation and this former student whose mother had taught at the school. His name's Adam Lanza. He wasn't born a mass murderer. He was born a perfect child of God. And he was cultivated into what he became by pain and suffering and disconnection and isolation and bullying. Yes. And it got to a point where, and by the way, he did not have skills and tools to be able to manage what was happening to him and to manage his anger. If he had,
and wasn't it that his dad left? His dad went off with another lady. His mom was a teacher. They had she had, a teacher's income, and he's being bullied at school. So trauma upon trauma. I mean, you're not just victimized once, but it becomes compounded. So many people listening, I know right now, can relate to that in the state of Hawaii. There's so much. It's called trauma, but the official name is Adverse Childhood Experiences, ACEs. And the biggest study by the WHO, the CDC, the people you're hearing in the COVID crisis, they said bigger than COVID, bigger than car accidents or heart disease, the greatest health threat is ACEs, Adverse Childhood Experiences, a big fancy word for trauma and a big fancy word for bad things that happen to good kids, like Adam Lanza, who wasn't born to be a gunman, but he didn't have healthy ways to unpack that emotional trauma. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
Well, and the interesting thing about ACEs, now ACEs was a groundbreaking study on childhood trauma that was done over 20 years ago. And that study found that 1 in 5 kids was coming to school traumatized. And we've learned so much since then about what a traumatized brain goes through and how literally it's in fight or flight, freeze, fight, or flight, and it is not able to learn because there's no accessing the prefrontal cortex. Why would you when you're in survival mode? But the recent research on childhood trauma shows that it has increased, and now the numbers are, depending on what state you live in, between 38 and 50% of kids coming into school have experienced a recent traumatic event. And keep in mind, trauma can be anything from yelling and screaming at home to the unthinkable. And it is something that we have to address. Yes. And we have to provide children and adults, by the way, skills, tools, and attitudes to help us manage the difficulty that we're going through. We have to be able to thoughtfully respond to it in a different way, in a productive way.
exact in a positive, productive way. And you always say two things come to mind. We can't always choose what happens to us, but we can always choose our response, and we can
Yes.
always choose aloha or choose love. Second thing I
Yes.
want to say is we believe, and I've been learning so much of this just by being a Choose Aloha ambassador and a Choose Aloha champion in the state of Hawaii. It's been like 1 year since I met Scarlett at
Yay.
Kanoilani
Yay.
Elementary School with Stacy Kunihisa and
Yeah.
Rachel, who's out there. She's a teacher at Kanoilani. Shout out to her. She was posting,
Yes.
oh my gosh, Dawn and Scarlett, Salt and Pepper are going to be on IG tomorrow live. Thank you, Rachel, for that shout out. She's such a wonderful girl. But the second thing I want to say is we know there's PTSD. That's an extremely serious syndrome, post-traumatic stress disorder. And yet we believe more strongly than that, it can evolve, and correct me where I'm wrong, please add in, Scarlett, it becomes PTG, which stands for what?
Well, here's the interesting thing. So everybody listening is going, oh yeah, PTSD. I've heard of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. And that's the negative impact of trauma. And
Yes.
but the interesting thing is this: PTSD, if you look online, now it's going to be bigger after the pandemic, but before the pandemic, PTSD impacted 7% of the population at one point in their life. But there's this thing out there called post-traumatic growth. And here's the interesting thing, and this
PTG.
has been PTG. This has been researched, by the way. But when I speak to audiences, even audiences of mental health workers, no one's ever heard of this. Why?
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? And by the
No, that
way,
is crazy.
post-traumatic growth is what impacts most of us when we go through difficulty. Now, I just want you to think about this. We are shaped and molded through difficulty in our lives. That's how we learn lessons, through our mistakes, roadblocks, challenges, even pain and suffering help shape and mold us. If you took a moment right now and you thought back to a difficult time in your life, I bet that you could also think about how it strengthened you and it taught you lessons and that you grew from it. That's called post-traumatic growth. And this is something, by the way, that you can look up after this Instagram live. You can actually go on your computers. You can look up post-traumatic growth. There's tons of research about it. And there are so many ways that you can grow from post-traumatic growth, from difficulty in your life. Yet, nobody's ever heard of it. And this is so interesting, Dawn. I don't know how much I can go into this, but we have this negative bias as human beings. We focus on the negative. If we think about our thoughts, and by the way, everything starts in our head. PTSD starts in our head as a thought. PTG starts in our head as a thought. Anxiety starts in our head as a thought. And there's definitely stress, a lot of anxiety going on out here. But so if we talk about our thoughts, we know so much more about our thoughts through the latest neuroscience. And all of us have between about 50 and 70,000 thoughts a day. That's adults. Wow. And we know that between 70% of our total thoughts are negative. That means angry, non-productive, and don't serve us. This is adults. This is just average. 70 to 80% of our thoughts every day are negative, and over 95% are repetitive. So they're the same thoughts that we had yesterday, a week ago, a month ago, up to 5 years before. So when you know that your thoughts create your beliefs, which create your perception of your reality, and the majority are negative and repetitive, it really makes you want to be mindful of what we put into our heads, because our thoughts are something that we can control. Remember, you said we can't always control what happens to us, but we can always control how we thoughtfully respond. We can't, like, if I use my own experience, I couldn't control what happened at Sandy Hook. You know, I wasn't even there, unfortunately. And we can't, you know, if we think about everyone on the call now, we can't control COVID-19. Nobody chose that. Nobody would ever choose that. We can't control it, but we can take our personal power back in how we choose to thoughtfully respond to it.
Wow.
And when we choose love in our thoughtful response, and when I say that, I mean kindness, caring, concern, compassion, civility, we take our personal power back. And
Yes.
we actually are part of the solution. We help make the world, we help create the world that we want to live in. Now, when we respond, when we react in prolonged anger, hatred, and revenge, we give our personal power away. We're becoming victims. And that is the
Yeah.
definition of loss of control. And that does not feel good. Now, I will say, by the way, the reason that we've all heard of PTSD and probably nobody's heard of PTG is because of our natural negative bias. And you may wonder,
Very
why
true.
do we have that negative bias? Well,
Right.
our brains were created to keep us alive, not for happiness. Isn't that interesting?
Very
So
interesting for survival.
for survival, our
Any
brains are wired.
threats?
That's right. We're constantly scanning for danger. We don't
That makes
realize that.
sense.
But if you go back to caveman times, who's going to live to pass down their genes? It's the guy that was scanning for a saber-toothed tiger. So we still kind of have that scanning mentality. That is called our negative bias. But all we have to do is just be aware of it. Oh, okay. So everybody on here, I just want you to be aware of it from now on.
Yeah.
Like, this is a lot of this is just awareness. Okay, I have the negative bias. Ooh, there's a negative thought. So how do you change? How do you thoughtfully respond? How do you change your negative thoughts into positive thoughts? It's a practice, by the way. We all
Yeah.
have this negative bias. We all kind of default to the negative bias. So it takes a little bit of effort. But oh, Dawn, this brings me into our formula. So we go into gratitude. Gratitude we call the great mind shifter, because all of these tens of thousands of thoughts you have every day, you can only focus on one thought at a time. And so you can only focus on a lower energy, angry, negative, fearful, anxious thought, or a grateful thought. So you just think of something that you're grateful for, and there's always something to be grateful for. And so you can only focus on a grateful thought or your lower energy thought. So you choose when you're ready to choose, when you're ready to kind of shift out of that negative thinking, choose something to be grateful for. There's no more powerful mind shifter than gratitude.
And it's so easy. I was just videotaping here in Hawaii. After School All Stars is something that our kids do after school, obviously. And during the COVID crisis, they were slammed. They can't meet with kids after school. There's no school. So how do we keep kids engaged, informed, and inspired? And so I've been doing some videos with them, short ones. And thank you for watching them, Scarlett. I'm sure you have like uku billion things to do, which is a Hawaii way to say many multitudes of things to do. Uku billion things to do. And yet you take the time to watch, to encourage. And she sends me texts all the time. I'm like, this is why I voted for you to be my quarantine lockdown partner. I skipped over The Rock, Jason Momoa, a couple other wonderful people. I chose you, buddy. But she takes the time to watch these videos. And then we were on like a Choose Aloha ambassador meeting. And she goes, this is Scarlett, the founder of Choose Aloha, Choose Love, international, 100 countries, 50 states. Hey, can we get Dawn's videos and make it available to other states? Because they're good. And our wonderful friend Kelly, I'm sure she's going to watch this or is watching it. She said, well, she does speak some Hawaiian and local pidgin, which is broken down English. So we all our little twang out here. But she goes, but they're wonderful. Get them out there. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So I was just doing the gratitude journal. We call it our G journal every day. And we send this free sticker. If you want it, you can just email me, dawn@jessielewischooselove.org. And we were just today filming our gratitude. I wonder if you can see that. You can, right?
Yes.
Gratitude glasses, because it puts a shade of wonderful on everything in life. And you just said, you choose. That's why it's called Choose Love or Choose. Right. Choice is so empowering. And you get to think, do I think I am great What are your great I am affirmations? I'm telling you what, Scarlett, I mean, not only is after school blowing it up with 12 schools all around our state that you love to visit out in Ka'u, Molokai, they do it on Big Island, they do it over here on Oahu, but now other schools picked it up and they said, what? You have after school all-stars? We'll use that for our school, Ilima Intermediate. Teachers are texting me because it's so good and it's so simple. And then guess what, friend? They started cheating, and I have parents saying, oh, can I get that free sticker sent to me? I will make sure that a child gets it at some point. And a teacher was like, I need a sticker as well. I'm like, of course I'm going to give it to the teachers. There are superheroes.
But
Oh,
Dawn,
and you know who's, yeah.
I was just going to say, that reminds me, we have a parent program because this has to be a consistent message in schools,
families,
homes, communities, and in the workplace. So we have Choose Love for the home, which is geared towards the younger kids, the elementary school kids, but anybody can use it. They're short, fun videos with great resources and games. And we also have Choose Love for communities, because when I would be going around the country and launching this in school districts, I never fail. I would have, if it was a celebration, I would have the mayor there on one side, the chief of police on the other, the president of the Chamber of Commerce, and different, community stakeholders. And they would say to me, well, how do we get involved? We want to support this work, and we want to choose love too.
Yeah.
And so we created this community program, and it's all no cost, because
Free.
this is so vitally important. How could when we know so much, in fact, there are decades of research on how, when kids have these skills and tools, they get better grades and test scores. So they do better in schools, higher graduation rates, less stress and anxiety, less
better
mental
tests,
health
better
issues,
grades, yep.
better grades and test scores, less bullying. It's a statistically effective way to reduce and prevent bullying. And then later in life, because there are decades of research, we know now these young adults have less substance abuse, less violence and anger, less incarceration, and as you said before, even less divorce rates. So we know all around this is so good. And by the way, we're still watching all of those issues escalate. They were before the pandemic, they were epidemics, yet we still continue to do things in the same way and think that we're going to get a different result. And that's, I think, the definition of crazy. But it's just that old way of thinking. It's the negative bias. It's focusing on the negative, and what you focus on grows. Choose Love is not like that. Choose Love focuses on the cause, addressing the cause of all of those issues, and therefore it is the solution. And we cultivate safety from the inside out of every child by giving them these skills and tools. And it's so thrilling for me. It all started with those 3 words on the kitchen chalkboard, and it has grown exponentially, but by word of mouth. This is just, people understanding the importance of this, wanting to be part of the solution themselves, like you, and taking it up and helping us spread the message.
And that's the thing, is it is the heart of Aloha. It is so organic. It's a grassroots campaign. It's a Choose Love movement is a worldwide thing, but it's not like it's this big blitz of New York Times Square advertising PR campaign. It's birthed out of Aloha, which is unconditional love. I said there's long lines for food, long lines for unemployment. There are longer lines for love.
Absolutely.
And I just love that it addresses, and another reason why I think it's a ringer or a homer here in Hawaii, we were one of the first schools, is because Aloha is addressing the whole child. Hawaiian Polynesian culture, and I know you know some of this, Scarlett pays so good attention. She's sharp as a whip. But we don't, and our DOE, Department of Education, says we want to educate the whole child. Now, the whole child is your physical, you do PE. It's also your mental, emotional, which I would call the soul, right? So body, soul, and then there's the spiritual realm. Now, Choose Love addresses a child's spirit, where they're choosing gratitude, courage, forgiveness, and compassion in action, where they're being mindful, where they are choosing to take the breath, the ha, that's what we call it in Hawaiian, is ha, H-A means breath of life. So when we say choose aloha, It's kind of like when we say aloha. I know it was a big thing on 13 going on 30. Was it that? No. The movie Miss Congeniality. Do you remember that one? I loved that film. And she goes up to Miss Hawaii and she's like, so when you guys say aloha, are you saying goodbye or hello? And it was supposed to be a joke because it was an intense moment. But we not only greet you with the breath of life and we share, we do the hongi, which is the kiss nose to nose, because we want to share essence of spirit. But we also leave with that same, I extend life to you. And that's what the Choose Love program, Scarlett, it is birthed out of that unconditional, powerful force of life. It's life giving, it's life transcending. And yet it's so simple that children can take it and teach it.
That's right. That's exactly right. It's all based on this formula. And this formula you can use in any situation, circumstance, or interaction that will ever come up in your life. And this will help you to thoughtfully respond with love. And when you do that, you take your personal power back and you make the world a better place. And so we start with courage. And I think that's a really important character value to talk about, especially now when things are so uncertain.
Scary. Yes.
Scary. And it
and
doesn't mean
discouraging.
yeah. And it doesn't mean that you don't have fear and uncertainty. It just means that you have the courage to face it and thoughtfully respond and grow through it. That you understand that you have a growth mindset, that this is actually, even amidst all of the death and uncertainty, that this is an opportunity as well to grow, and that things will change, and that we will move out of this, and that, you know, our world may not be the same as it was, but there is still opportunity for us to be our best.
I love it. And I just want to take a commercial break to say that Scarlett and I were on a meeting call the other day. Everybody knows what Zoom is. And I always say, I'd rather do Zoom than Zumba. I don't know about you, but I just, and
Totally.
we were on this Zoom meeting the other day and she was putting on I think it was her second winter coat because you're in Connecticut, right? And then I was like, oh my gosh, we just announced, the mayor of Honolulu said that we have another 40 days of lockdown until May 31st and it's 76 degrees. I want to go outside. And I was just like, monku, 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 complaining. And she goes, Dawn, you have a flower in your ear. I'm putting on another winter coat. It is freezing dark. I don't want to hear any complaints. And I love that we're friends like that we can joke. So today I made sure I wore your lei because I can't give it to you. I put another big flower in and I went and bought a coconut. This is from Hawaii. Cheers to you, Choose Aloha lady.
I love it. Oh, wait. Let me try some of it.
Here you go.
Thank you. Oh, I can taste it. I love it. I noticed that you were sipping from a coconut. I can't top that.
I know. And I felt bad. I was like,
Heat on.
here she is talking about really serious mental issues. And I'm like, but we love, Aloha State loves Choose Aloha because it addresses the whole child, and we're all children of God is my belief. So I'm learning this program, social emotional learning, at 49. You learned it at 44. I have teachers and principals who are learning it before they can teach it, because as you said, and we say it in the Hawaiian culture, that the ulu doesn't fall far from the ulu tree. Ulu is breadfruit. And if you're a breadfruit tree, you're not going to produce apples, right? So you can't reproduce what you're not. If you didn't grow up in a home where you spoke love and thank you and I love you, those seem like basic statements to you and I because you're a very loving mom, Scarlett. But there are many homes in the state of Hawaii. They grow up and they'll give a testimony in a church or a business group and they'll say, I never heard my dad say I love you. And I never heard my mom say them. We grew up in an Asian home. You don't say that, right? So I love that you said it's about us learning it and then we can reproduce it because it is powerful, universal, but it's not necessarily trained up. You don't have that coming out of you. I want to say shaka fly how's it to Dylan Pakele. He's one of our top basketball guys and he's with Pakele Mele. We also had earlier Christina Hanakeave, as I said, and her husband actually produces those after school all-star Hawaii videos that you've been enjoying and promoting around the nation.
That is awesome. That is awesome. I wanted, aloha. And I wanted to say something, Dawn. You were saying that some kids don't grow up in households that say, I love you. And this goes beyond that. These are essential life skills that help us learn how to have healthy relationships, how to manage our emotions, how to be not just resilient and bounce back after difficulty in our lives, but grow through it and strengthen ourselves, how to make responsible decisions. These are called essential life skills, and we're not born with them. We don't have them. And if our parents aren't teaching us that on top of the love, then we will grow up to be adults and we don't necessarily have these skills and tools. But let me tell you something. I learned them at 44, and my life, despite the fact that I had this terrible tragedy, and it's not that I don't miss my son every day and I give it all up for one more second with him, but that's not going to happen. But I can tell you, having learned these essential life skills, my life is so much better now, because they've brought so much to my life. I mean, you use them in the workplace, you have better relationships. And of course, there's this lifespan study that Harvard University did. I think they're over 80 years into it now. But when really they were 75 years into it, this is the longest ever study done on human life. When they were 75 years into this study, they found the secret to happiness. And they published it in a report. And they found that the secret to happiness was healthy relationships and meaningful connections. Now, here's the interesting thing. We have to learn how to have healthy relationships and meaningful connections. And that's what social and emotional learning does. Isn't that interesting? So we're all connected by the want and need to love and be loved. Of course, we're all connected by that. We all, as human beings, feel pain and suffer. And by the way, we're all susceptible to COVID-19. That brings us all together on the planet as well. Yet we all just want to be happy. And what is the key to happiness? It's healthy relationships and connection, but we have to learn the skills and tools to be able to do that. That's what this does.
Yes. And you used a big word right now. It's probably one of the biggest words we're using that are on the positive side is essential. They're essential life skills. And Scarlett, I don't know if you've noticed, I know you have, but I'm just throwing it out there as a rhetorical question. Notice we've been stripped of all these distractions of eating out and all these other things. And now we're back with our families. We're eating at home. We're learning how to have relationships and get along and talk and have conversations, all the essential things. And that's what Choose Love program is all about. That is why when I came to the conference last year in February at Kanoilani Elementary and met you and I saw this, I mean, I'll be just for a quick second. I've been in church all my life. I have been in so many different types of churches, grew up Catholic and then anyway, the point being, when I came to this conference, it was like a cherry on top of the cake. I knew that this was the program I was going to devote the rest of my life to. I'm still a church girl, and so I'll get off that church wagon right quick. But I know that Choose Love is so easy and accessible. The Choose Love formula, the 3 F words, right? Fierce, free, and for everybody. I know I cheated on that last one. I slipped in 2 words. Fierce, free, and for everybody. And it's in the most schools here in the state of Hawaii. I'm getting calls every day, emails, because people want Choose Aloha in their school. And as you said, Scarlett, something we're seeing here that we mentioned on that meeting call, domestic violence is going bigger and bigger in the state of Hawaii. So is substance abuse as we're all locked down, alcohol purchase rates across the nation. And then you have suicides. And no one's talking about that. Dear friend of mine, you love Nana Kuliwai and I. We're going to do a May Day show tomorrow, myself and one of the top comedians in the state. You know him, Tony Silva from the Brothers. And so he and I are going to do this because a Hawaiian man from Nanakuli got 2 calls in the last 7 days. I'm sorry, in the last 10 days. And he said, Dawn, no more, not one more baby. Our Hawaiian children are dying. We have got to send a lifeline and we have got to reteach essentials. So we've got to go back, make Hawaii aloha again. So I just thank you for this Choose Aloha program, Choose Love. And it's so simple. And the website is chooselovemovement.org. You're all over Instagram. You're all over Facebook. You're all over, period. You're just, I'm surprised you're at home, but then it's the law. You're locked down right now. You're usually flying like 1,000,000 miles per hour all over the earth. I know it's
Yep.
12:26. Are we wrapping it up? Because I know you have a tight schedule.
Yeah, I think that this stops after an hour. That's been my my experience. But I want to
This is
thank
my
you,
first
Dawn,
time.
because yeah, and we'll do this again. I would love to do this again. But you are volunteering to do this, and we can offer the program, but we rely on volunteers that understand the importance of what we're doing and that will make the effort. And it is a lot of effort. You're also traveling and you're teaching and you're explaining, and it's time and it's energy. And I just want to thank you for doing that, because this does save lives. This transforms and it saves lives. And I mean, not to be too dramatic, but I know that it would have saved not only my son's life, but the life of the shooter as well, who I knew was in such pain and suffering so much that was what he felt the only way out. And he wanted to put that pain on as many people as possible. And so it's, you can feel compassion for him and know that he wasn't born that way, and that it could have been prevented with what we're talking about right here. This can reduce and prevent so much suffering. And that's the difference of what we're talking about, Dawn. We're not talking about focusing on issues once they're there, even though this can do that as well. But we're also talking about reducing and preventing the suffering that leads to those issues.
Yes.
And so this does both. This is everything. It is so vitally important. And that's why it is no cost, because to me, these are basic human rights. We know how important they are. Everyone should have access to them. No one should be priced out of the market.
Absolutely. And I want to give a big shout out before they shut us off to we know there are superheroes in this battle against COVID and in this battle for our global meltdown pandemic, but we're going to look at the PTG side, positive growth, and talk about the superheroes of Choose Love all around the world. And a lot of those are the teachers, the principals, vice principals, administrators. I even met with janitors down in the South Point of the Big Island right before they shut us off, just before spring break, and they were shutting down the doors. Principal Sharon Beck, who lives out there, she sends her love to you. And so she said, if you'll meet with the janitors, Dawn, I said, I'll meet in the closet with the janitors. And somebody said, you're going to go back in the closet? Good for you, Dawn. But I said, hey, watch it. Thank you to all the superheroes. And I know a bunch of teachers are putting it up. They're even posting. There's daily tips to choose love and thrive during this challenging time. You really are the superheroes on the front lines with our children. Boy, how much more we appreciate you now that we don't got you. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. But thank you to all of you superheroes, because we are, you're the ones out on the front lines with our keiki. Thank you so much to chooselovemovement.org. And again, Scarlett, we are just going to say you're an honorary Hawaiian. You're a Polynesian. You are our May Day queen. You are the Aloha Parade princess. And next time I want to give you the lei in person with a coconut, and you're going to be my twin coconut. I'll be pepper, you be salt, and we'll break it all out.
Totally. I'm into that. Thank you so much. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for choosing love. I love you so much.
I love you. Remember, if you're tuning in right now, thank you for being a part of us today. You just spent time with Scarlett Lewis. There's a lot more resources once again, and it's free, free, free. My favorite 4-letter F word is free. The other one is food, if you were wondering what that other 4-letter F word. And when you put those two together, Jesus jackpot, free food, free food, free food, cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. It's all at chooselovemovement.org. That's chooselovemovement.org. So many things for Choose Love at work, Choose Love with the family. We even got Choose Love champions for the sports teams and you coaches. And then, of course, the ones for school. All free online. Take good care.
All free. And let me say, there's a coronavirus tab. So there's lots of great free resources under the coronavirus tab. We have this new texting project. It's a partnership with the University of South Florida where you can text SEL, short for social emotional learning, to 484848. So text SEL to 4848, and you can get a daily tip and hint that can help you practice choosing love, taking your personal power back during the time of the coronavirus every day to your cell phone. We have a daily dose of love because we get so much positive feedback from all around the world. We get photos and videos and poems and lots of incredible stories about how Choose Love is transforming and saving
You just
lives
featured
all
one
over
of
the
our
world.
elementary schools, and it was Wilcox
Yes!
Elementary, right? We won the cheer competition, Hawaii.
Yes!
Cheer!
That
And then
was
we featured,
amazing.
that was, I'm sorry, Waipahu Elementary and Wilcox Elementary on Kauai also featured, because Hawaii, we're bussing it out. So you just got
Totally.
served, world. We're just
Totally.
choosing all this aloha up in this house.
Oh,
But
yeah.
4848 SEL, that's all you have to text, and you get it daily
SEL to
downloaded.
484848. Yep.
Thank you again so much, sweet friend. I don't want them to
Thank
cut
you.
us off, so I'm trying to preempt them cutting us off. I heart you. I love you.
I love you too.
Take good care. May God bless America, and may America bless God. Aloha.
Aloha.